Cuba, an island of 11 million people. No army that can challenge America, no nuclear weapons, no oil empire. So why has the so-called powerful nation on earth spent 65 years trying to destroy it? Today we expose everything: the sanctions, the starvation, the covert wars, and now, in 2026, the very real possibility of a military invasion. This is the story behind the story. Before 1959, Cuba was not a free country. It was an American playground. American corporations owned Cuba's sugar. American investors controlled its banks. American mafia ran its casinos. The Batista dictatorship was brutal, corrupt, and fully backed by Washington. Then Fidel Castro came. He took the land back. He nationalized American companies. He told Washington that Cuba belongs to Cubans. Washington's response was not diplomacy. It was, well, a secret plan. In April 1960, United States Assistant Secretary of State Lester Mallory wrote an internal government memo. Declassified. You can read it today. It said measures must be taken to bring about hunger, desperation, and the overthrow of government. That was 1960. That policy has never changed. In 1960, President Eisenhower began the first trade sanctions. In 1962, President Kennedy tightened them into a total economic blockade. Not an embargo, a blockade. Because, you see, an embargo stops your own country from trading. A blockade stops the entire world from trading with you. Washington, you see, went after every country that dared to sell medicine food or fuel to Cuba. Any ship that docked in Cuba was banned from United States ports for, well, 180 days. Foreign subsidiaries of American companies were banned from doing business with Havana, and countries that gave Cuba aid were threatened with losing American assistance. In 1992, the Torricelli Act tightened the noose even further. Then, in 1996, the Helms-Burton Act made it nearly impossible for any future president to lift the blockade without Congress. Under Trump's first term, over 240 new sanctions were added. Cruises banned, direct flights curtailed, shipping companies penalized, Venezuelan oil tankers sanctioned. 65 years, dozens of laws, hundreds of sanctions. And what was the official goal? In Washington's own words, regime change. But, you know, sanctions were never enough for Washington. The CIA launched covert operations against Cuba as early as 1959. There was sabotage of sugar mills, biological attacks on livestock and crops, and, of course, the most famous failure in CIA history, the Bay of Pigs invasion of 1961. 1,400 United States-backed Cuban exiles landed on Cuba's southern coast. They were defeated in just 72 hours. Then came Operation Mongoose, a massive CIA program to assassinate Fidel Castro. The United States Senate Church Committee later confirmed the CIA made at least 8 assassination attempts against Castro. Exploding cigars, poisoned diving suits, mafia hitmen, all of them failed. In 1962, the world nearly ended. The Cuban Missile Crisis brought the United States and Soviet Union to the edge of nuclear war, because Cuba allowed Soviet missiles on its soil after the Bay of Pigs. Decades of CIA interference followed. In 2014, it was revealed the United States had secretly created a fake Cuban social media platform called Zunzuneo to incite political unrest. Your tax money to destabilize an island nation. Now, fast forward to today. In January 2026, after the United States captured Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, Trump immediately cut off Cuba's oil supply from Venezuela. Venezuela had been supplying Cuba approximately 26,500 barrels of oil per day, nearly a quarter of the island's total energy needs. Cuba only produces about 40% of its own oil. The math is brutal. The United States then imposed tariffs on any country that dared export oil to Cuba. The result? Cuba ran completely out of diesel and fuel oil. Hospitals without electricity, water pumps shut down, children blocking streets in darkness, Cubans cooking on firewood in the 21st century. On May 7th, United Nations experts formally condemned Washington's fuel blockade as energy starvation. The United States response? New sanctions, targeting Cuba's military-controlled business conglomerate. Trump offered $100 million in humanitarian aid while simultaneously blocking the fuel that keeps the lights on. You cannot starve a country and call yourself its humanitarian. Now, here is where it gets dangerous. On May 20th, 2026, the United States Department of Justice indicted former Cuban President Raul Castro. The charges stem from the 1996 shoot-down of planes belonging to a Cuban exile group, an event from 30 years ago. Why now? Because this is how Washington writes the script before regime change. They did it with Manuel Noriega in Panama. They did it with Saddam Hussein in Iraq. They did it with Gaddafi in Libya. They built the legal pretext first. CBS News confirmed that the United States intelligence community is now actively developing military options for Cuba. Pentagon analysts are modeling how Cuba would respond to an American attack. A United States Navy carrier has arrived in the region. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, the son of Cuban immigrants, has been pushing hardest for regime change. This is personal for him, and personal politics are now driving foreign policy. China has already condemned the United States' moves, calling them a violation of international law. Here is what you need to understand. This is not about democracy. If America cared about democracy, it would not have backed Batista for decades. If America cared about human rights, it would not be cutting off medicine and electricity to 11 million people. This is about one thing: control. Cuba dared to say no to Washington in 1959, and 65 years later, America is still trying to make them pay for it. The sanctions failed, the Bay of Pigs failed, 8 assassination attempts failed, 65 years of blockade failed, but the people of Cuba are the ones who paid the price, every single day. Now, the question is, will Washington finally launch the invasion it has been planning since 1960? Or will the world finally say enough?